Alright, today we're going to be talking about justifying our steps when we are solving an equation. Now the big thing here is we're going to be talking about the number set properties again, but there's some specific ones that are going to be used almost every single time, and that is all of these properties of equality. Okay, you'll also see distributive property in there as well. But for the most part, what you need to recognize when you're doing justifying is these properties of equality, because that's basically how we solve our equations. If we add on one side, we have to add on the other in order for it to remain equal. That's how we kind of cancel out a number on one side and move it to the other, is we use these properties of equality. Okay, if you subtract on one side, you have to subtract on the other to make it stay equal. Multiply on one side, blah, blah, blah. You guys get it, right? So basically that's what we're going to be doing when we're justifying our steps. So if we look at this equation here, this is already solved for us. So we don't have to do anything other than just say what property is being used to justify this step. So if we look at this first problem, looks like they just combined like terms here. Okay, so that would probably be, I would probably call that associative grouping. So probably the associative property of addition, because it doesn't really matter which way they add or how it's grouped, they're going to combine the same way. So I would probably call that the associative property of addition. Okay. Next thing that they do here is they minus 2x to each side. So again, think in terms of those properties of equality. If you're subtracting the same number to each side, that's going to be the subtraction property of equality. Really all you got to look at is the operation, and then you just put that operation and equality, subtraction property of equality. Okay. Next thing they do is subtract 2 to each side. So again, same property, subtraction property of equality. Okay, now they're dividing 2 to each side, so division property of equality. And the last thing, 4 is equal to x, same as x equal to 4. It's just rewriting the same thing, saying that they're both equal to each other. Again, if you go back and look at it, this is one of the easier ones. This is a symmetric property. It doesn't matter which comes first, they're the same either way, right? Okay, let's do another example. So let's look at this problem right here. So it looks like they're multiplying 4 to each side here, trying to get rid of this 4 on this side, right? So multiplying 4 to each side is the multiplication property of equality. Okay, then this next step looks like they multiply 4 to each term in the parenthesis to get 8x minus 20, so that would be the distributive property. They distributed. Then they subtract 6x to each side, which would be the subtraction property of equality. Okay, then they add 20 to each side, addition property of equality. Divide 2 to each side, division property of equality. And then they rewrite it, 8 is equal to x, x is equal to 8, same thing, right? That would be the symmetric property. So it's not really too different from what we did yesterday as far as identifying the steps. This is just actually looking at how it's applied, or basically justifying the steps that you already do when you're solving an equation. Okay, so this is just putting a name to the steps that you are already doing whenever you solve an equation.